How y'all doing this evening? Happy Tuesday to you all. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me this terrific Tuesday evening. I sincerely hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great day. And we're grateful to be here with you another week to get into the conversation. So, hope you guys are really doing well wherever you are. We've been on the topic or the series rather, Healed Hearts, and it's been serving a lot of people. I sincerely hope you're one of them. At some point or another in the conversation, you can find yourself. So I sincerely hope that you're being served as well. So thank you for coming back for something more, to something more. If this is your first time on, I want to say welcome. This platform is about forward-moving mindset, forward-moving thinking, forward-moving, juicy, delicious, conscious conversation that we all need in our lives, and forward-moving actions that are in alignment with kingdom principles. Yes, and yes. It doesn't matter where you are on your journey of life. You may be at a crawl, to a walk, to a run, to a soar. Doesn't matter where you are. There is always room for something more. So thank you for joining me this evening. My name is Petra, First Lady of Kingdom Mission Ministry, where I am so grateful to be serving alongside my husband as we serve in the kingdom of God. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve so we can bring something to the King. So that's what we're all about. So thank you again for joining me this evening as we just dive a little bit deeper into this series, unearthing some stuff, bringing some things up that is absolutely necessary, especially for our sisters. So again, thank you for being here. It's really important for us to have these difficult conversations. It's, they're not always easy to have, but they're necessary. And because we're not scared to go there, because we understand how important it is, we encourage everyone to just come with us. Let's have the difficult conversations, because it's all about growth and transformation. Because the longer we don't address them, the longer we pretend that they don't exist, we give them permission to persist. And we're not about that life. So we're about, talking about the difficult things so healing can come to and in our lives. So thank you for being here with me this evening, and so many blessings to you wherever you are. I sincerely hope that you're staying safe and that you are well, your family is well, while we continue on in this pandemic. We're trusting the grace of God to keep all of us. So thank you for being here. I'm holding on to my happy. How about you? It's all right to be happy. Matter of fact, choose happiness. Choose to be happy. It is okay to be happy. In these days, that's just what you got to do. Choose to be happy by the grace that is given us. So thank you for being here. And on that note, we're going to go into our deep breaths. We're going to center ourselves so we can get right into the conversation. We just bring our focus and our attention and our minds and our hearts to just sitting, to hearing, to contributing. Just locate your chat button. I can see you. I want to see your comment. That is what gives me life, to know that the conversation is serving you in one way or another. So locate your chat button so you can contribute in this conversation. All right? So on the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to just center your minds and hearts and take that deep breath with me. 1, 2, and 3. Deep breath in. Exhale. I don't think I've done that intentionally all day, and ooh, that feels good. We get to take in all that's good and release everything that doesn't serve us, all that God has willed for us, has destined for us. We can take in the blessings, we can take in strength, we can take in all that is beautiful and release those things that are not serving us in this season of our lives. So on that, let's take that deep breath in and out. It is my prayer for each and every one of us that as we go through this series, that something will come up for you. You will allow it to come up. because we're very good at repressing and just not dealing with stuff because it's easier that way. We're very good at not dealing with hard conversations. Again, it's easier. And we have gotten very lazy with our inner work and personal work with ourselves and our emotions and things of the past. We prefer to not deal with them. We prefer to not speak about them. And so we've gotten lazy. So I trust that as we go through this series, something is coming up for you, and you could see exactly where you are and get some insight as far as what you need to do so you can grow further or get to that point where you can really know for sure that your heart has been healed from whatever trauma you have been in. So we have prayed over everyone that would be here, for women everywhere that will see this video and would would join with us in conversation. We've just prayed for everyone that the Lord will allow you to glean something from this. And also to pass the information on to someone else who can be served in that necessary way. And we just want to use this conversation to glorify Him, and that we can further move into that place of healing. So why is this conversation necessary? Again, we're delving a little bit further in this evening. This conversation is necessary. Is it easy? No. Do we all want to talk about it? No, because attached to the conversation are pain points and pressure points for a lot of women. But nevertheless, we walk through the pain points and the pressure points so we could get to the other side of that, which is where our healing lies. Hey, how are you guys doing? Are you saying hello to me? Hey, how y'all doing? Y'all all right? We're all right. We're all right. So this is necessary because we have so many broken and hurting women that we are around. That's in our inner and outer circle. Broken women in our churches, hurting and broken women on our jobs. We're everywhere. We've been through a lot, and we've just pulled our socks and our big panties up. Well, I don't do the big panties situation, but but we've had to pull them up no matter what, so we can go on with the business of surviving, go on with the business of just living life. And so there are a lot of us out there, and I say us because I've been through my stuff, and praise God for His grace that I'm on the other side of a lot of my struggles. And that's why I am just simply a wounded healer. That's a part of who I am. I'm a wounded healer, one who's received so much grace and so much help that I'm compelled to say something that could possibly, potentially help another sister. I'm obligated to do that because I know how dark my tunnel was. And it felt hopeless, and it was painful. And I had to hide from myself for so many years and hide from others because I was going through. So living on the other side of that, I feel obligated to share my story, to let you know that wherever you are, whatever you're going through, it is not the end. It is not the end. There is something on the other side of the pain, on the other side of the trauma, on the other side of everything that you're thinking and feeling. Wherever you are in it, there is really something on the other side of it, and that's one of my purposes, and that's why I'm here every Tuesday evening, so we could just talk about it, to join hands, because it's so important if transformation is going to happen. Yes, it's so great to know that we know God and we have Him, but this is what He said in His word, that we should really confess, which is really have that conversation with each other so that we can be healed. That's a part of our healing, having the conversation. It's important to have a sister, someone who loves you, someone who's cheering for your good, for your transformation, to tell you what you need to hear, to have the difficult conversations so you can get on the other side of your pain or your trauma, whatever you're going through. It's important to have those women in your life who will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, who will walk with you and cheer you on until you get to your next best. So that is what this conversation is about. So we have a lot of broken women, and, especially in our churches. It is a place where we think that a lot of things wouldn't happen, shouldn't be happening, but there's so much secrecy and there's so much silence because of the way things should be, that when they're out of alignment, nobody were to talk about it. We just kind of stuff it and repress it and forget about it. And so we're just bringing some illumination through this conversation with healing our hearts. So many of us, we've had painful, like really, really unfair things that have happened to our lives. Like if we all were here in this area, in this setting, I know that a lot of women would raise their hands to say that I've had a lot of unfair things, painful things, that if I had it my way, would not come to me, would not happen in my life. We've had to walk through a lot of stuff to be where we are right now. To smile, to be the woman, the girl you and I are. To have some level of normalcy, to move from point A to point B. We've had to move through a lot of stuff to be where we are. And so we celebrate where we are on the journey. Doesn't matter where you are. You could be at a crawl in your struggle, on your journey. Doesn't matter where you are. The fact is that you are on the journey, and there's a next level for all of us. There's a next level. There is something more. No pun intended. So we have had to walk through painful, really unfair things that happen to all of us. Sexual abuse, rape, physical abuse, verbal abuse, shame, disgrace, rejection, abandonment. And what's important to know is that everything that we have experienced, in one way or another, have influenced us to be the person we've chosen to be. Everything we've experienced have influenced the choices that we have made in our lives up to this point, right? So your experiences, it's important to know your experiences, whether good or bad, they influence your perspective about life, about people. Every situation you're in, we're trained to do it automatically, that you don't even know that when you get to a decision, that decision came from somewhere. There's a reason behind that decision. So it really does, the experiences influence your perspective about life. Through our experiences, we decide what is good or bad. Through our experiences, we decide who we'll trust or not, what we'll do or not, what we'll say or not say. Through our experiences, we make those quick decisions. I was doing a study some time ago on the process of decision making and how quickly the brain does it. It's about around 10 steps of processing from the external stimuli coming in to the brain, and the many steps we go through so quickly to arrive at a decision. It's not automatic. It's going on, and because we're not really trying to pay attention, but we're doing things, and we arrive at our decisions largely from our experiences. So our experiences are important, should never be discounted. We should never pretend as if they never existed or they never happened, because when we do, especially when they're painful ones, they're going to stick around even longer. So here is what I know for sure. All of us are big little girls. All of us are big little girls who have all been marinated in something that makes us who we are. We've been marinated in something that makes us who we are. And I hope we can all surrender to that. We're all big little girls. And we all have a story. I don't care who you are, what your title is. If you are where you are now, you came from somewhere. And along the journey, something transpired. A lot of things transpired. But again, we're trained, and it's okay to make everything look pretty, and we stuff everything. Some of us are just stuffing it on the inside, and we repress. And long enough, when we repress a lot of our pain, a lot of our experiences that weren't so good, it just gets to that point where it turns into depression or internal anger, resentment, lack of joy, lack of peace. So we should really, really try and surrender to the fact that we are big little girls and we all have our stories. So the question this evening is, what have you been marinated in? If I could tell you what I've been marinated in, my experiences, they are incredible. And the work that God had to do in me from my environment, my past environment, that taught me how to think, that gave me a paradigm, how God had to work on my heart, heal some things, gave me a different vision, gave me a different set of understanding in and around certain things, that I wasn't only seeing things from ground level, but that I had with elevated lids, I could see things from a different perspective. And I'm grateful for that. So the question is, what have you been marinated in? It's good to know. It's good to know what you've been marinated in. And so without judgment or self-criticism, it's, identify what sort of sauce you've been marinated in. Some of us is jerk sauce, some is barbecue sauce, some of us is bitter herbs, like you name it, some sauce. But we've been marinated in something. This is important because until you identify and own what you've been marinated in, the corrective treatment that you need, that corrective treatment cannot be appropriated. And so from a physical, from a professional, and from a spiritual standpoint, I talk about corrective measurements. And one thing I know about corrective measurements is that corrective treatments or the right treatment yield proper healing. Because some of us are healed and we feel good about where we are, but we're just in partial healing. And we want to move from partial healing to the place of total healing. How do you know if you're in partial healing with the traumas you've been in your life? Like, girl, I'm good. I've been through that, thank God, and I'm good. But how do you know if you're fully healed or you're in partial healing? It's just like a wound. There are many, many stages of a wound. Stage 1 to stage 4. From stage 1, where the skin is just red, and you look at the skin and you know, if I don't take care of this, it's going to get to a stage 4, which stage 4 is when the wound gets open and you have necrotic tissues and it gets all the way down to the bone, where you can see muscles and bones. So there are stages in our healing process as well. So some of us are partially healed, and that's wonderful because that will support us being fully healed. So there are some questions that you need to ask yourself. If you want to know, am I partially healed? Am I fully healed? Do I want to be fully healed? Am I okay where I am? And some questions to ask yourself is, what have I been marinated in? It's important to know that. What have you been through that still have that impact on your life today? How you think, how you feel. So here's a starting point if you're not sure. Ask yourself the questions. What offends me? What makes me really mad, really frustrated? What angers me? When I experience this thing or see it within myself or anyone else, what brings up that feeling of bitterness and unforgiveness in you? Another question, what patterns do you see in your life that you want to change? What patterns do you see? And another question is, what do I really want? Oh, this one is so important. Ask yourself the question, What do I really want? And take it one step further. Why do I want what I want or need? Why do I want it? Because the answer to those questions will reveal a lot as to where you are and where you're going. So we're going to delve into briefly this evening a trauma that we haven't spoken about, a type of abuse that we have not yet talked about, and that is the trauma of sexual abuse. This is an important conversation because it is so prevalent in the lives of young girls. Not only young girls, but that's who I'm talking to this evening. Young women, big little girls. You know, sexual abuse, sexual assault. You have sexual assault at the top, then you have sexual abuse, you have rape. So a lot of things fall under sexual assault. And I'm talking about sexual abuse this evening. The stats on that: 3 out of every 4 women, 3 out of every 4 women are sexually abused. Girls are sexually abused before the age of 16. Before the age of 16. That means if you have 20 girls or 20 big little girls, women in a room, we have 17 and a half. 17 and a half. 17 and a half of those women have been sexually abused. Isn't that startling? Like, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. That out of 20 women, 17 and a half have been sexually abused. It is important that we have this conversation. And nobody is saying anything about, especially in the church, it's not a conversation that we like to have. So the truth about it is that when these girls are sexually abused, when the victims are sexually abused before the age of 16, 95% of the times it's from someone. The perpetrator is a family member or someone who's very close to the family, who has direct access to the child. A family member or a close family friend who has direct access to the child. And not only that, that individual, the child trusts that individual as well. This is mommy's friend. This is daddy's friend. So if daddy and mommy trust this individual, then to a young person, it's okay for them. In their mind, it's okay for them to trust as well. So 95% of the times, it's coming from a family member or a close family friend who has direct access to the child. And once the sexual abuse begins, again, every abuse has what's called a cycle. I mentioned that last week, a cycle of abuse. With sexual abuse, it's no different. So once the abuse starts, the perpetrator keeps the abuse going by using lies, manipulation, fear, and secrecy. Don't you ever tell anyone or else. I know a lot of us can relate to what I'm saying, because out of 20 of us, we got 17 and a half. We can relate. Don't you ever tell anyone. So this type of abuse, it is so horrible because it affects the psyche of a young woman, and it travels with her throughout her life until healing comes. The brokenness that comes from sexual abuse travels with her from stage to stage to stage. She grows up, she's a career woman, she gets married, she has children of her own. And what that abuse has created in that girl travels with her into womanhood until her heart is healed. And at one point, I remember going to a college. They invited me to come at a conference to speak with women. And I did go and I talked about this topic. At the end of the conference, I had a woman She was a doctor, 65 years old, who's never disclosed to anyone that she was sexually abused. She broke down. She asked me after the conference, can I speak with you on one-on-one? And I said, absolutely. She broke down in front of me. Other people were around. We were sitting, by ourselves, but people could hear her crying. That this is the first time in her life she's felt released to give voice to her pain, that she was sexually abused by her grandfather's friend. I have some warm tea. I can't even drink water. I have tea this evening because I need to sip. And she cried. The pain, and she started to go over the story uncontrollably, that all her life she had to hide, and all her life she had to carry this. And she was so thankful for me coming that day to speak about this, and it gave her a release she's never had in her life. At 65 years, it travels with you until your heart is healed. So it really ravishes your self-esteem. This type of abuse, it ravishes your self-esteem, your self-confidence. If you have been sexually abused, this is it right here. Low self-esteem, low self-confidence. It really takes it away. A sexual abuse, it takes from the victim. And the longer it lasts, the worse it gets. It ravishes your self-worth and your self-value. It's important to know that everything we go through, every experience we encounter, it means something. We create a story about everything, especially, this is just how we're wired. If I come in and we usually talk, and I come in and your eyes are closed, you could be having a headache. I have to make up a story about why your eyes are closed. That's how we do it. So maybe she's mad at me. She didn't even look at me. And I will immediately make up a story as to why your eyes are closed, because everything we encounter, every experience, it has to mean something, especially when we lack information. We do what's called fill in the blanks. And most of the times when we fill in the blanks, we are wrong. So we create and we make up a story about everything in our lives. The trauma. Why did we experience what we experienced? Why did this happen to me? For all my sisters out there, I'm here for you. 1 hand up, 2 hands up, and a foot. And you live with the story for your life, for all your life, until your heart gets healed. So we make up stories about everything. We need to make sense of what we experience. We need to make sure that what we went through, we understand it. So thus the storytelling. So it's no different with sexual abuse. And the prevailing story around this horrible experience is something is wrong with me. I did something wrong. I'm a bad person. Why this is happening to me. All right? And you really take it further and you adopt an attitude of disapproval about yourself, about who you are, your possibilities, your potential. You no longer believe in your capabilities, your significance, your potentials, your success. It's just not for me because I'm not good enough. So your ability to trust people also is taken from you because your trust was violated. So everyone who comes to you, you have this lens to look through. And it's the lens of mistrust. Everybody wants something from me. And if I open up myself, this is exactly what's going to happen. So you find it very, very hard to trust others. Most of these people who have gone through sexual abuse, you will find out that their love language, most of the times, is not physical touch. You don't have to touch me to let me know you love me. But what it will be is acts of service. Because if you love me, then you would. Or if you love me, then you wouldn't have. So acts of service will look like someone not just saying, I love you. That's good. That's a starting point. But you're not able to trust that. Because someone said, I loved you, I cared for you. Someone who should have protected you violated that trust. So that's taken from you. You no longer trust what people say. You're constantly looking at what do they do. Actions have to now match what they're saying. So the words are not sufficient anymore because of that violation. Are you guys there with me? It's difficult, but we're going to make it through this conversation. So you really now paint from what you've been through, the experience of sexual abuse. You have now painted this distorted picture of yourself. And the picture is based on personal judgment of unworthiness, not enoughness. The picture is based on insignificance. I'm not good enough. And so your poor self-image is reflected in everything you do, everything you say, how you show up. Because it's a belief that's now ingrained that because of that experience, this is really who I am. And it is now an identity that the victim takes on, that this is who I am. Can you imagine someone walking through life believing that because someone who was going through their own chaos dared to hurt them, that they become as ugly as the person's actions? This is the mentality of a lot of people who've been sexually abused. So this poor self-image affects every area of life. Your choices, your career, whether or not you have, go get it. Because you're always thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. That's for other people, it's not for me. If any of you guys have read my story, it's in live and living colors. Because I needed to set someone else free from my pain and my story. There's a 13-year-old girl out there somewhere who needs to know that there is hope, there's help, there's healing. And I'm so glad I was able to share that from a place of healing and a place of transformation in my life. I'm so glad I was able to do that. So this poor self-image, it goes with you everywhere. For so many years, I never thought that there are things I could do. I never thought I could be a business owner. I always looked at my sisters and I just thought that they were so incredible. I still do. They're incredible women. But I would always say, oh no, that's for that one. And oh no, it's for that one. I could never do that. Because I was plagued with, it's not for me. It's not for me. So with this self-perception, you also have something that's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. So self-fulfilling prophecy, this is where you prophesy your own life with your thoughts, with your own vision. So here you are painting a picture of yourself, your entire life, of what you can do, what you can't do, who you are, your possibilities, your success, simply because something informed that understanding, that paradigm, that this is who you are. And the word says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as you're thinking, as you're envisioning, that's exactly what you bring about. And that's why this is so dangerous, because it really takes your whole life if you let it. So this self-fulfilling prophecy, it really manages you're having the picture, your life, your thoughts, your visions, what you say to yourself about yourself, and you will bring that about. So here's a pearl. The way you see yourself is the way others will see you. The way you see yourself is the way others will see you. And the picture that you have painted is the picture others will see. The picture you have painted of yourself is the picture others will see. I'm sure you've heard it said many times, it's not what's eating you, it's not what you're eating rather, it's not what you're eating, but it's what's eating you. Have you heard that? I have many times. It's not what you're eating, but what's eating you. But I say, it's not what you've been in, but what's in you. It's not what you've been in, but what's in you. What's seeped on the inside of you. Everything you think, say, and do come from what's really in you. Everything you think, you feel, say, do, it really comes from that place within you. We operate from that place of pain, fear, brokenness, anger, shame, blame, resentment, but we can also operate from the place of healing as well. And it is mathematically correct. You can only give what you have. You can't give what you don't have. So whatever it is that you've been through, and I like to say marinated, right? Whatever you've been marinated in, the truth is it has left something on you and in you. Whatever you have been marinated in, it has left something in you and on you. Whether you realize it or not, whether you're conscious of that fact or not. All right? The emotional abuse or that domestic violence situation that you were in where you almost died, running for your life with your children, that left something. That left something. The sexual abuse experience, that left something too. Going through parental projection, negative parental projection. You'll never be anything. Why did I have you? That left something too. That rejection that looks like, why can't you be like your sister or your brother? That rejection that looks like, I would rather be with them on any given day than spend 10 minutes with you. That left something as well. We've all been through something. Why did I have you? And for a lot of us, it's not the projection, it's just the actions from which we know exactly how a parent feels. And that is sad. That is painful. So believe me, it left something. You went through it and you're good and you pulled up your socks and your cute panties. But it left something. And the question is, what did it leave? What did that experience leave with me? Because it's not about what I've been in. It's now what's in me. And have we done the work to find out what's in me? So what's left? It doesn't matter what it is. Here's what I can tell you. It doesn't matter what it is. There's help, there's hope, and there's healing. Healing for your heart. So you don't have to be afraid of whatever has been left. Whatever residue has been left on you, in you. You don't have to be afraid because there's help, there's hope, and there's healing for your heart. This is what the word of the Lord says, that man looks at the outward appearance. They look on the outside. But God is looking at our hearts because that's what he's interested in. He's not interested in the story, what you've been through. He knows. But more importantly, he's interested in your heart. Man, they can only read what's on the outside, but God is looking at your heart, the state of our hearts. That's what he's interested in, because that's what he wants. So he's always concerned about the condition of our hearts. And if he's concerned about the condition of our hearts, he's also concerned about what got us to where we are. And how we've responded to it. And how that thing has kept us grounded. And kept us in pain and shame and anger and resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness. He's concerned about that, because all of that affects the heart. All of that takes up precious real estate on the inside. That's where we keep it. You could be as bitter as they come and be smiling. You could be in unforgiveness but still smile. Let me see what you guys are saying to me. Valencia says, thank God for help, hope, and healing. I say the same, sis. Lexus Princess says, daddyless daughter, trauma. It really is. So it is very important that we have this conversation, because we got to get back to our hearts. We got to get back to the residue. We got to get back to finding out what's really there. And as I offered the questions before, it's really, really important to ask those questions if you're not sure what's there. After you've been through that divorce, after you've been through that domestic violence, after you've been through that horrific abuse, what's left? Because something was left. And why is this important? This is important because God is looking at our hearts, and he wants our hearts healed, all of our hearts, from all the traumas, whatever they look like. He wants our hearts healed. And this is very, very important, because we get to pass on what we have. What's in us, when we have children, we pass that on. So if you have dysfunction in you from the past, you're going to pass that on, because you can only give what you have. If you have unforgiveness in you, you're going to pass that on. If you have pain on the inside, you're going to pass it on to your children. Thank you for that, Valencia. She said so much bitterness and anger. That's some serious stuff, serious feelings. And she feels so much better when she decided to let it go. So whatever we have on the inside of us, we will pass that on to our children. You can only give what you have. So it is really hard for broken parents to raise whole children. It is hard for broken parents to raise whole children. So if you've been raised by a parent, like most of us have been, who is broken, give them grace, because it's difficult for broken parents to raise whole children, because they gave what they had. Frederick Douglass says, it is easier to build a strong child than to repair a broken man. It is easier to build a strong child than to repair the heart of a broken man. So sexual abuse, if you have sons like I do, it's important to have this conversation with them, to let them know that when you sexually abuse a young girl. This is what it looks like. And usually the victim, when they're sexually abused, the abuse is suppressed for years and years and years because they don't have the experience or the capacity to deal with the trauma from the sexual abuse. But eventually, around age late 20s, early 30s, that dam's going to break eventually. When they have enough strength, enough capacity to really understand what happened in the past. For some of us as parents, and so important to make sure that you're watching your children. Like seriously, when I had my children, there were no play dates. There were, I love you, but no, I'm not sending my child to your house. And I've been called many names. I'm uppity, I'm boasty with my children. I'm like, a lot of things I've been called. I didn't mind it because I know that I had a mandate, a responsibility to make sure that when my two boys leave home, that they leave intact. My sister Ivana usually joke with me to say, I'm so glad you had boys, because if you had a girl, she wouldn't leave home until she's 47, 45. And you're talking about me, not to mention my precious husband. I'm like, you going 55 for her. But it really does speak to our understanding how important it is to protect your children. You have to be very, very sure who you're exposing your children to. And when your children come, when your girl will come and say, Mom, Daddy, investigate that thing. Uncle, investigate that thing. And it's so important to build a relationship, an open relationship with your children, so you can talk about the sun and the rain and the moon. Talk about the small things. So when a difficult and a painful thing like this occur, you've already made it easy for you to have conversations. If you can talk about the easy things, you will always also be able to talk about the hard things as well. But when you're not having conversations and you have not built that with your child, that relationship, it's difficult when they're being abused for them to tell you the truth. Because again, they're scared. They're afraid. They're ashamed. They're not understanding what's going on. That everything they have been taught, what they're experiencing is a complete opposite of what they know and have been taught. So build a good relationship with your children, so it will be easy for them to communicate difficult things with you as well. Do not give everyone access to your children, related or not. Again, most of the abuse is happening from family members. So dare to ask them, is this good? Is this person touching you inappropriately? Do you feel comfortable around this person? Dare to ask your children the question. Dare to start the conversation, because if you're brave enough to start, then that will also give them room to say what they need to say, to know that you're going to be there for them in the event that they say something. Encourage your children that no matter what's going on, and it doesn't matter who does something to them that they're uncomfortable with, that they should always come and let you know. Again, it is easier to build a strong child than to repair a broken man. So there are certain measures we ought to put in place. And just one more thing I'm going to pass on before I conclude this conversation. If you have a child who's experienced sexual abuse, because a lot of times it's about the parents will feel that guilt that I wasn't there and I didn't do enough to protect my child. Don't dwell on the shame and the abuse and the guilt. It's important to meet with your child and to let them know, I'm sorry. It's important to say it out loud, that I wish I could have protected you better. I wish I saw what was going on, but I didn't. And if I did, this is what I would have done. That is so healing for someone. If you have a child who's gone through sexual abuse, it's very healing to hear that from the parent. It's also very healing to say, if I could have done it a different way, or if I had my way and could have made the choice to do this or a do-over, I would have done differently. That is also healing to the child. So they know that you're on their side. So they know that you're not seeing them as a bad person, but as a victim from someone else's chaotic choice. So it's important to go back and heal, help others heal. It's important to go back and say, I'm sorry. It's important to say that, you know what? I didn't see that. I missed that. Be brave enough to offer that to your child who has been sexually abused. Even though you know you did the best you could with the information you had, it's important to acknowledge that in your child. So it helps them on their journey to healing as well. This really takes away from young girls. So it's important for men. It's important for pastors and ministers to know. Because a lot of young girls have also been sexually abused. I know women who've been sexually abused by ministers. And these are the women you can know they want to hear nothing that a pastor has to say, because they're still in that place of pain and brokenness. Some people have abused the office. So it's important to make sure that you're under a pastor who is godly, who honors God and fears God, and is there to protect you, to help you in the healing process, and never ever to take advantage. This is what a healed heart is. Having a healed heart is really going on a journey with God. So whatever you've been through and you need to get to that place of healing, this is what it is. It is really going on a journey with God, where He first sits with you in the pain. He acknowledges, He knows you've been through that. He sits with you when you're angry. For years I asked God, where were you? Why did you let certain things happen to me? I just need an answer. I asked Him questions for years. I don't know if I was mad at God, but I wanted an answer. I wanted an answer. Because nothing brought peace. Nothing gave me the answer I was looking for, or my soul knew I was looking for. And so I asked the question for years, God, why? God, why? Where were you? And in the process of obtaining a healed heart, this is what God will do. It's going on a journey with Him. And He's going to first walk with you. He's going to sit in the pain. And He's going to sit with you in that place of anger and pain and frustration. And He's going to let you know, I'm here. I see, I know, and I understand. I am with you. Because your healed heart comes from no place else. That's the only place you can really get your heart healed. So He sits with you in pain, and then He walks with you through the pain every step of the way. And while you're walking out this journey, while you're getting to the place of healing, He's also teaching you valuable lessons along the way, things that you need to know, things that you need to understand.